Yeah. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.
Yo, what is going on, Headliner Nation? Your boy Kyle back with the Fantasy Headliners, and I am breaking down day one of the free agency tampering period. Now, you might be saying to yourself, what is that? What does legal tampering actually mean? For those of you that may be new to the process, what it basically means is that today is the first day that free agents and their agents can discuss contracts with teams. And nothing is actually set in stone yet because they can't sign a contract until Wednesday. So while they can come to an agreement on a deal today, it's not official and in the books until Wednesday when they can actually sign it. In years past, we've basically seen a lot of these deals end up coming to fruition anyway. There's only been a couple of times where we've seen, somebody saying, hey, I've come to a deal with this team, and then all of a sudden, nope, reverse course. There was somebody else come Wednesday when they actually can sign. So we've seen it happen a couple of times. Doesn't happen too often. Normally, everything you're seeing today does end up going through. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing earth-shattering. Saquon Barkley's still with the Giants. Devontae Adams has basically said, trade me or play me because I'm not playing tag this season. Deshaun Watson, he's down to Carolina and New Orleans as potential trade destinations, it looks like. But nothing crazy, no Allen Robinson signing or anything like that. But still some very notable news for some teams that are hoping to win this season, and these guys being a big part to helping make that jump. So why don't we jump into it? Let's talk about a little bit you got to hit the like button though. Hit the like button for me and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. First up, a huge deal at the wide receiver position, Christian Kirk. A max value deal of $84 million over the course of the next 4 seasons to head to Jacksonville and play for them. Now, I like Christian Kirk. Is this money a little on the higher side? Yeah, absolutely. But the deal isn't too bad either because after 2024, they technically can opt out of it for very little dead cap. So while it is a huge deal, it's not a deal that is fully guaranteed, and it's not anything that they can't get out of after year 2 if it doesn't end up working out for them. So in the short term, yeah, they spend a lot of money, but in the long term, if it just doesn't end up working out, Christian Kirk will be out of Jacksonville. The only thing that worries me is obviously they spent some money. They spent some money last year, and it didn't really end up working out for them in Marvin Jones. So hopefully the new coaching staff and really a new philosophy, kind of help take place, and they really see this offense open up with Trevor Lawrence. Expect Christian Kirk to be the wide receiver 1 on this team. I think Marvin Jones, if Trevor Lawrence can take a step forward, is still a guy that you take a look at and say, okay, yeah, he can help out. And then there'll be somebody else that we discuss in a few minutes as well. Christian Kirk, for me, as of right now, more of like a low-end wide receiver 2, though. I'm not getting too hyped on it. I want to see what else Jacksonville may or may not get done. Particularly who are they going to draft at number 1? Do they go offensive line? Do they go on the defensive side of the ball? If they go offensive line, I think that helps a lot. But this will give a really good option, especially when you had a guy like DJ Chark over there who was, he's more of a field stretcher for me still. I'm not willing to buy into him yet as being a guy that can go all over the place. As I've always said, he strikes me more as a field stretcher. Christian Kirk, not nearly as much. We haven't seen him have that breakout as of yet, but he's never really had a chance to be the guy. So we'll see if he can be that guy in Jacksonville. Mitch Trubisky headed to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh fans talking about Deshaun Watson over the last 48 hours, wake up this morning and they get Mitch Trubisky. So, sorry, Pittsburgh fans. But the Steelers ended up reaching an agreement on a 2-year deal with QB Mitchell Trubisky. He's going to head there and expected to be the starter right away for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we'll see what happens with that. I don't think, again, that's an earth-shattering move by any means. I'm still not. I know Jake and Chris and Chris and Rim Chouse and Jake. I can't even get the name straight. I'm talking about it on the pod over on Spotify or Apple iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure you subscribe to the Fantasy Headliners podcast. But talking about him on the podcast last week, I know they're a little bit higher on him in terms of seeing, did that year last year behind Josh Allen on the Buffalo Bills really help him grow as a quarterback and what he could do this year? I'm still not a fan. I'm not on board yet. I'll be willing to eat those words later on if he ends up working out for Pittsburgh. But for me, I'm not nearly as excited about it. It does for me feel a little bit like Deontay Johnson could probably still be fine. But Chase Claypool, this could end up hurting because I don't know if Mitchell Trubisky is going to be able to go down the field enough and consistently enough to give him that type of upside. I do like it for Pat Freiermuth as well, though. So there is some potential there for DJ and Pat Freiermuth to still get theirs. The Arizona Cardinals bringing back one of two running backs from last season. James Conner signing a 3-year or coming to an agreement on a 3-year, $21 million deal that could end up growing to a maximum of $25.5 million and includes $13.5 million fully guaranteed. A huge season, especially on the touchdown side for James Conner last year, turns into a nice contract for Arizona. And we'll talk about it here in a minute, but he's going to be the lead back as of right now and will not have Chase Edmonds anymore. That is a big time signing elsewhere to really help James Conner. So for me, James Conner is probably going to be a high-end RB2 as of right now. I still think they utilize some of those running backs that they already have there to kind of help keep him fresh and keep him from getting injured. I think that's the one thing that we can all agree on, that James Conner, when he's healthy, he can produce, but it's being healthy a majority of the time that really we want to make sure he does. And he stayed healthy for a majority of the last year, but also he had some help along the way to try and lighten that load, especially at the beginning of the year when him and Chase Edmonds were really hopping back and forth. So I like James Conner. I like his potential, but I'm also keeping an eye on what they do at the wide receiver position, because as of right now, obviously you've got Rondale Moore. Obviously you've got DeAndre Hopkins if he's back and healthy, and there's another signing that we'll talk about in just a minute. But there's some things around him that I'm hoping still help out as well. What about Chase Edmonds? Just mentioned him a second ago when I said one of two heading out of town. Chase Edmonds is the one that is leaving Arizona, headed to Miami. Miami Dolphins and running back Chase Edmonds have reached an agreement on a 2-year deal. 6 of it's guaranteed. It's for $12.6 million. And he's probably going to be the lead back right away. I don't know who tweeted it, but somebody tweeted it and said that basically the Cardinals hate Myles Gaskin so much that they were willing to go out and just sign another Myles Gaskin. I don't know if that's totally true or not. That might be stretching it a little bit and more fun, if anything. But it does feel like he's not different enough for me. It feels like he is a little too much of the same Myles Gaskin mold. So this one did surprise me a little bit. Chase Edmonds headed there did surprise me a little bit. I think he does help in the passing game. How much work does he get on the ground? I think he gets enough. I think he's the RB1 there in Miami. But I'm saying like probably mid to low end RB2 as of right now, probably at best. But again, it does depend as well. What does Miami do in the draft? Do they do anything else? Do they add somebody else to this team other than Chase Edmonds and end up splitting time with him and just are completely done with Myles Gaskin? Or is it Myles Gaskin and Chase Edmonds? Or is it one of the other guys and Chase Edmonds splitting time? So it's one of the things where I'm not getting too ahead of myself again. I kind of like the move if they give him a decent workload, but I'm talking about like they need to give him at least 65% for him to really be in that RB2 range, and I don't know as of right now if that's really going to happen. But sticking with the Cardinals in the news quite a bit today, Zach Ertz, he has re-signed with the Arizona Cardinals, and this actually wasn't today, it was yesterday, but they re-signed him on a 3-year deal, $31.65 million over the course of the next 3 years. 17.5 of it is guaranteed. I really like this move. I like this move a lot for him. I like this move a lot for Kyler Murray. We know that Christian Kirk is gone. We know that AJ Green is probably not coming back. So Zach Ertz should probably be the number 2 in that offense. And we know that James Conner, in the past has gotten some work in the passing game, especially while he was in Pittsburgh. But really, Chase Edmonds seemed to be a guy that was in the game more last year when he was healthy, is that passing down back. So the hope is some of the targets that went over to him will now go to Zach Ertz instead, which is great because that's going to help out Zach Ertz, his value, get him back to a point where he used to be while he was in Philadelphia, and put him back in that top 5 conversation at the tight end position. And I think we are headed there with Zach Ertz, back to that top 5 tight end conversation. Probably not over the top end guys, but it wouldn't be surprising either if he were to finish higher up there. And part of me has him kind of right there with Rob Gronkowski. I'd probably go to Rob Gronkowski just a little bit now to begin with, but Zach Ertz will probably be solidly right behind him. Michael Gallup is going to end up staying in Dallas even after the ACL tear last year. His new deal with the Cowboys is going to be for 5 years, $57.5 million. 23 of it is guaranteed. They're guaranteeing $4 million for an injury, guaranteed for injury in 2024 if that happens. Maxing out the contract with incentives, it's coming in at $62.5 million. So this, they got rid of Amari Cooper, and part of getting rid of Amari Cooper was, to get someone to take on that contract so they can make some moves and do some things this year. Obviously, they were not going to be able to keep him and Michael Gallup. They chose to go to Michael Gallup, the guy coming off the ACL tear. Kind of surprises me a little bit, and then they give him quite a bit of money here over the course of the next 5 years. So we'll see what happens during this time frame. But for me, talking about Michael Gallup this week, talked about him and Amari Cooper in a video earlier in the week, kind of for members only, what I was looking at, what might happen with people. Talked about it yesterday in the 2 days ago in the breaking news video for Amari Cooper as well. It was a surprising move. They obviously loved Michael Gallup. They're hoping that if he comes back and he's healthy, that he is definitely kind of taking over as that wide receiver too. Dalton Schultz is going to be there as well. CeeDee Lamb is going to be there. Cedric Wilson is now out of town. He goes to Miami as well, and we'll have that on a slide here in a minute. But Michael Gallup should be the number 2 in that offense, or number 2B at least, with Dalton Schultz being the number 2, and he should get himself plenty of targets. Hopefully, the only thing that I could see potentially happening is he does have more of that big play ability where things just become an issue where, you can start on 1 week and maybe you get a dud, and then the next week you don't start him and he has a huge game because there's just some inconsistencies there with him being the big play guy in that offense. Jacksonville, they're back at it again, bringing in Evan Engram. Whew. Evan Engram. Now, some people on this channel, not naming any names, would say I have a love affair with Evan Engram. Don't really have a love affair with Evan Engram. He is talented. Yeah, sometimes drops can get to him, and obviously he's had some injuries and things like that as well, and has been inconsistent while being there in New York. But does the move to Jacksonville kind of free him from all of that and get him out from underneath that microscope that was, maybe weighing on him a little bit? Does working with Trevor Lawrence, is that a little bit better? If Trevor Lawrence can get to a consistent standpoint with his play this year, does he develop that connection with Evan Engram? The one thing this means is that Dan Arnold still will not be a thing. Sorry, Dan Arnold truthers. Dan Arnold got me for a couple of weeks last year, but, he tricked me. Evan Engram being there for 1 year, he's going to be the guy. Obviously, Dan Arnold was brought in last year, under the Urban Meyer regime, and that's out the door now at this point. So this new regime bringing in Evan Engram signals to me that they are going to be using him, and maybe they do utilize him maybe out in the slot a little bit more. There were some reports that Evan Engram was being looked at more to be like a slot wide receiver instead of being a tight end. So do we see him kind of take on that Kyle Pitts role that Kyle Pitts had last year with Atlanta, where he plays in the slot much more than he does lining up on the line like a traditional tight end would? There is a lot to come from that, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Evan Engram, but the opportunity will absolutely be there, especially if there's any injuries, and especially if Trevor Lawrence maybe just doesn't gel with Marvin Jones, and that kind of carries over from last year. Some notable guys that were released as well. Jarvis Landry, it was expected to happen. He's released by the Browns, so he's going to land in a good position somewhere, I would guess. Zadarius Smith, defensive end from the Green Bay Packers. He goes on the way. Green Bay, looking to free up some money to re-sign Devontae Adams, obviously. Tariq Cohen, he was released the other day. Blake Jarwin ended up being released. He's going to be gone for the entire 2022 season. And Bobby Wagner the other day was also released as well. He's still kind of scouting his opportunities and where he wants to go to. A trade that happened the other day, Khalil Mack, obviously everyone's probably heard about that. That one is done, signed, sealed, on the way. J.C. Jackson released, or not really released, but the New England Patriots were not willing to match what he could potentially get in free agency, so he went that way, and he goes to the Chargers. So the Chargers really trying to make a run in the AFC West, and they are doing a darn good job of setting themselves up for it. Ted Karras and Alex Kappa, offensive linemen, going to the Bengals. Both of these are amazing signings and great for Joe Burrow and even better for Joe Mixon, ladies and gentlemen. Great signings, going to help reinforce the interior of that offensive line. It's going to help make it more stabilized, give Joey B some more time to throw, and give Joe Mixon some more holes to run through. Ryan Jensen, he's re-signing with the Bucs. Obviously, great for Tom Brady there. Roger Saffold, he's going to be signing with the Bills. The Bills getting somebody to really help protect Josh Allen. Braxton Berrios, he's headed back to the Jets. Teddy Bridgewater, he's going to head to Miami. Is he going to be some competition for Tua? I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to say yes. I don't want that to happen because I want to see Tua thrive. And if you just keep bringing in guys that are going to switch in and out with him when he doesn't succeed, he's never going to grow. So Teddy Bridgewater, hopefully that's just insurance for Tua. And then CJ, who's your mama? He is headed from Cincinnati also to the New York Jets. Now, the New York Jets didn't do anything with the tight end position last year. Does CJ Uzomah change that? I don't know. I'm willing to bet no right now, but we'll see what happens there. Breaking it all down for you, all the moves, all the conversations that have been made over the last couple of days, and I'm sure there's more to come. And don't forget, when those big moves happen, when those big names come off the board, we are going to be right here breaking that news for you. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. So when we go live or post a video, you are going to know about it. Leave a comment down below. Which one of these signings makes the most sense to you? Which one makes the least amount of sense to you? And if your team was listed here, what do you think about the deal that your team made? And you got to subscribe here to the Fantasy Headliners if you've not already done so. But I'm going to get out of here in case some breaking news does happen. I got to be ready to record right away. But y'all stay safe, y'all stay healthy, and I will catch you all in the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.
Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. Y'all stuck on third down. Your content's plain Jane. Headliners on top now. We gonna move and change. Podcast off the rip. Draft guide, so legit. Fantasy world, our game tight. You know we about that Chubb life. Stuck in a rut and you need some motivation. Head to the channel for this Headliner Nation.
I'm a headliner.